Hey everybody, happy Friday. Nick Slavik here, proprietor of the Nick Slavik Painting and Restoration Company, also the host of Ask a Painter Live. It's a weekly live Facebook show where I use my 25 years now in the business to answer any questions. Now, if you're a homeowner, what have you always wanted to ask a professional painter? This is as simple as what kind of brush, what kind of primer, what kind of paint. Happy to do that stuff, love doing it. And for the professional painters, this is for us. This is a forum where we get to exchange information about coding science, about entrepreneurship. We can talk accounting, estimating, systems, all that other good stuff. Thank you everybody for watching here. I'm gonna pull some people in going live with me today. And Chad Merriam, I'm looking at you. I would love to go see, if you're on the job site today, if you're interested in going live with me, I'd love to see what you have going on there. Russ Perry, thank you for watching. I have a few bits of business that I wanna go over here today. But we're just going to have a free-for-all. Anything you guys want to talk about, type it down below and we'll talk about it. Or if you guys want to show me a job site, if you want to talk live, let's go live here. So the kindest thing you can do for a show like this is to share it. I want to reach all the interested homeowners, all of the people of like-minded business that want to grow, that want to prosper and bring some dignity to our trade. So James Gilbert, thank you so much. Oh my God, you guys are very flattering. So I'm going to start pulling some of you guys in live. So James, Jason, if you guys want to go live, just hit the little button down there to request to go live, and doesn't have to be for a long time. If you just want to talk about something that's on your mind, if you got a question, if you got a topic you'd like to discuss, or just to say hi, show me a job site, fire it up on the bottom there. Paul Rafferty, thank you. It's been an awesome couple weeks here. The PDCA Expo was a couple weeks ago, and I was honored with 2 awards there. There was a residential restoration award that we did. Chad Merriam, I'll be heading up there shortly. All right, as soon as you get there, Chad, request to go live. I'd love to see your job site there. I think he's working on a really cool job site. So I was honored with a residential restoration award for a brick mansion I did. Down in New Ulm, and it was an awesome project, and also super honored by all my peers. They named me Craftsman of the Year. So obviously there's people that do much better work than me, but that I would even be considered for something like that is truly honored, and I'll try to do my best now to carry out. Okay, here we go. John Marcraft, tanning after applying water-based. Curious to see if tanning means the yellowing. You might be from across the pond there, buddy. Are you talking about the discoloration of the water-based paint there? I'd like to get some clarification on that if you don't mind. Juliano Alcantara, my good friend from Brazil. Boa noite, my friend. Paul Rafferty. Oh, wonderful. Thanks, Paul. I do appreciate it. Jackie Pavic, thank you for watching. Oh, Quan Nguyen, what's your favorite product from Sherwin-Williams? Some of my favorites are, I love Easy Sand Oil Primer. That stuff, it gets a little grainy if you don't lay it on thick enough, but it's a wonderful oil primer for interior stuff. Love flat exterior duration for a lot of my projects. And that stuff goes on great. It lasts forever. The restoration I did down in New Ulm that I won a national award for, I actually used duration flat on most of that. So that was a great, I've had a great track record of mansions on that street there. Bautarde, Juliano, thank you for watching, buddy. And if you guys do not follow Juliano Alcantara, he is basically the painter down in Brazil. He sort of is the face of the whole painting industry down there, and he's an advocate for sort of what the PDCA and a bunch of us contractors are trying to do, where we want to further this industry and bring some realness to it. So if you guys don't follow Juliano, do that, please. John, what do you use to stop it? After water-based. I've never had a problem with water-based yellowing. It's only when you get into the true oils or the lacquers. I found that especially, you would think that stuff exposed to the sun and stuff would age and yellow, but honestly, if you do a true oil base, like a pure white oil base or a pure white lacquer, nitrocellulose or pre-cat lacquer, the insides of cabinet doors will age much quicker than the other ones there, than the outside stuff. So Jason Paris wants to come live. I don't know who this guy is, but we'll see what he wants. Oh, hold on, let me find. Let's see what second attempt at the Bluetooth here. So, Mr. Paris, how are you?
Good. Hey, Nick. We're in the shop, and we had this is a painting question for you, not a business question this time. But this is Adam and Ben. And,
hey guys.
We're enameling some cabinets that were done about a year ago by another painting contractor.
Uh-oh.
And they've run into some issues. And actually, can you guys explain kind of what we're running into? All right, I'll let Ben. They're both very shy. So what are we running into on here? Oh, here's an example. I'm going to turn it around here if I can.
So we're the old caulk has come out or expanded out of the crack, and we're gonna have to re-caulk and finish them. So, what would be your process and procedure for that?
Was that the only reason the client wanted those cabinets redone, was because of the expansion cracks there?
Correct.
Now, this is probably, I say almost nothing controversial, but when I give my cabinet masters class, I am a firm believer of not caulking all of those cracks, only because those cabinet doors are put together with floating panels, and they're made to move with a seasonal movement. Now, I have been given a little bit of clarification on this. Down south in like Arizona, where the humidity and everything is more stable, they can get away with caulking them. But up here in Minnesota, I've seen, probably like you've seen, complete horror stories of stuff coming undone, and then you get this sort of weird, like, you know, it almost looks like a mouth with a bunch of teeth that have been knocked out, just a whole bunch of weird, bad joints there. So honestly, what I do when I have a client, I explain to all my clients that, number one, we don't caulk them because we want it to move. And number two, if they want it filled, I actually use a brush with the actual enamel and fill it so that when it does expand, it creates a perfect hairline fracture. And even if the client says, hey, I got a crack, it doesn't get one of those weird gummy sort of joints like that. So I don't know if that's any help to you guys.
Well, and then it'd be the same color behind it. I agree with all of that. So
yep. And what's funny is that a lot of what I found before is that it's almost more of a people management question than it is a craft question, because I'm super upfront with the people saying, listen, this is going to move, and the best case scenario is to not do anything. At least you're going to have a beautiful straight line around there.
Right.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. I don't want to
Hey,
monopolize the show, but we had a great shop question. I'll do a follow-up business question, and that would be, you're implementing a ton of things right now, and how do you prioritize the things that need attention now, as opposed to like, I need to go to bed and I can't work anymore, even though there's a million things that I should do or can do. And I'll take my question off the air here.
Awesome. You guys are the best. Thanks for chiming in.
All right. Thanks, Nick.
Okay, so Jason's question was, how do you prioritize? You know what I've done as an experiment? I wanted to see how productive I was being. So what I did was I made a list of, the 80 things I need to do for my business. And I just sort of tucked it away. And then I sat down at my desk and thought, what do I need right now? There's two kind of areas of problems that I deal with. Not problems, just issues. One that actually physically keep my business going. So sales and invoicing. Obviously, that's the sort of standard. You need to do that to keep the churn going. And then once that's caught up, I go into the improvement side there. So basically what I do is I make that master list, and then I just say, okay, let's start prioritizing. If you've ever used a Eisenhower matrix, it's a 4-square matrix where you have information on the top, information on the bottom. It's important, not important, necessary, unnecessary, or urgent and not urgent. And basically you put things into these 4 quadrants and you try to figure out how many things on my to-do list are actually urgent and important. And when you get to it, almost none of them are. So then you start trying to figure out, like, okay, well, being that I implemented all these systems into my business, I basically just started with, what are the basic functions of the business, and writing those down. And in writing those down, you actually come up with a plan. I found out that when you're doing this, this is probably one of the biggest things to implement in a business, is basically systematizing your whole business, and it can be overwhelming. It took me about 50 hours of time, of my time, from when I found out about it to when we were actually using it in my business and tinkering with it here and there. And it's constantly improving. But basically, think of it as this. The secret to all business is having a plan and then making you or somebody else accountable for the things in that plan. And that's sort of like how business works. And it can work on very high levels with complicated schemes, or it can work very simple, like I'm accountable to my people. If we don't have any jobs coming in, I'm obviously not doing my part, and then I get kickback from it. So everybody has to have a written job description, and then you have to give them tasks every week, and then every week you hold them accountable for the tasks. I started as simple as that. I made a leadership team. I figured out what I do every week, and I tried to take half of what I do during the week and offload it to those other people. That was the first biggest step, because as Jason asked, how do you prioritize? The biggest problem in my business right now is I'm time constrained. I physically cannot put any more time into my business. So what I did was I said, okay, here's my problem. I need more time to grow my business. And so I just physically thought, how do I carve away a lot of the tasks that I do? And it turns out all the things that I thought I could do and nobody else could do, they can do them, and sometimes even better. So I carved some of them off, I gave it away, and I recaptured half of my time now back during the week. And then we just started from there. Then I said, okay, with this new time, now what do you do? So thank you, Jason, so much. I love seeing you and the guys there. And we're going to start scrolling through questions. I got behind in the feed here. Juliano, thank you for watching. John Marcroft, what do you use to stop it? I'll keep going down here. Jersey, UK. Oh, you are from UK. Honestly, John, back to your question about the water-based stuff. Anything water-based, if it is an emulsion, if it's a hybrid, I've not even had yellowing with like Benjamin Moore Advance, Sherwin-Williams Emerald Urethane, any of those hybrids and things like that. I've not really experienced yellowing. So if you are, I wonder if there's an oil or a urethane component in there, something specific overseas. Jackie Pavic asked about painting a textured ceiling. If you can, prepare the whole room like a surgical suite and spray it, but do a test first, because a lot of the times if textured ceilings have never been painted, the moisture from the paint will actually reactivate it, and it may take 10 or 15 minutes, but it could start coming down. If it's been painted before, almost no problems. But if not, go get yourself an 1.25 inch thick Worcester Super Fab roller, a 9-inch roller, and that's one of those big boys like this. It's really fluffy. Get a good sturdy frame and just start painting. The best white ceiling paint I've ever used is, back to the Sherwin-Williams question before, Sherwin-Williams CHB. Hirschfield's, a local paint manufacturer in the upper Midwest, they have something called MHB, which is Minnesota High Build, which is their version of it. Awesome product. CH Build actually stands for Chicago High Build. It's an awesome paint, ultra flat, white, covers well, almost no streaking if you apply it right. So let's see what else we got here. Phil McGrory, thank you so much for watching, my friend. Do you have Crown Trade paint in the U.S.? Paul, not in my area. Not that I have very good access to. Mr. Yachek, thank you for watching. Shop question. Oh yeah, we just got to that. Reed Roselle, Wellington, Clayton. Thank you so much. Kelly, thank you for watching. Dontre Wheeler. Joel, hello from Portland. Getting a gen together for Craftsmanship Forum in October. I was invited to present in Minneapolis in July at the Residential Forum. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. We're actually going to Joel's backyard for the Craftsmanship Forum for the PDCA, and he tells me that we may even be going to a Purdy factory to watch handmade brushes being made. And also the Residential Forum is actually going to be in my backyard this year, so you can come meet the famous Jason Paris, hopefully, if he can spare some time up here in Minneapolis. So. Oh, Nick May, thank you for watching, my friend. Nick's on his way to Spain, the big shot that he is. Have fun out there, Nick, and represent us well as painters. Jim Callahan, Deborah Hahn, Quan Nguyen. Where do you use the duration flat as a primer? When I do outside stuff, I am still a firm believer in a 3-coat system, and this goes for even interior stuff, painting cabinets, painting walls, painting exteriors. I never use primer unless you have really a stain problem, an adhesion problem, something like that. Even when I do color changes, sometimes you don't really need a primer for what it's known for. I don't use any of Benjamin Moore Aura, Duration Flat, Duration Emerald, any of those high-end exterior paints, I never use them as a primer in themselves. I'm still a firm believer in using oil primer or water-based primer to solve specific needs. And in the upper Midwest, at least here in my neck of the woods, we still have a lot of cedar wood houses. And if you just use straight water-based paint over them, Duration and Aura will do a really good job blocking stains, but they will not permanently block them. So I use a water-based or an oil-based primer over those. And then even though they're sort of one coat systems, honestly, I still do 2 coats, and a lot of my exteriors are still finished by hand. It's something that I kind of hold as a special thing for my business. So. Oh, John Marcroft, sorry, mate, you're missing the point. It's more about wood tannin coming through. Oh, tannin instead of okay. There is a water-soluble acid called tannin in wood, and it's that tobacco orangish kind of color. Yes, anything water-based, which we were actually just talking about with the exterior stuff, you will not get it to block. Any water-based system will not block those stains because they are water-soluble acids. That's why when you use an oil-based primer out of those, when you apply the oil-based primer or even a super high-quality water-based primer, it will actually form a barrier, and it does not bring those into solute. And then it creates a barrier where whatever you put over, nothing will bleed through. So honestly, John, my go-to for anything, I mean, even interior woodwork that's oak that's been finished already, it almost never bleeds. I still use oil primer, if not for the reason of bleeding, for adhesion. Adhesion, I still cannot find anything better than a super good oil primer, but there's a lot of things that come close. So I hope that helps, John. Connor O'Keefe, Alan Blaisley, James Gilbert, don't caulk them. Yep, I'm a firm believer of that. And oddly enough, the first time I gave my master's class at the PDCA National Expo about, the perfect kitchen cabinet finishing, a couple people actually stood up out of the crowd when I said, don't ever caulk these cabinet doors. And yes, I think for 95% of the time, it's true. You should never caulk them. There are a few people who get away with it, like down south when you have a dry, arid climate. Or I suppose the same would work even if you had a moist climate that never changed. But in Minnesota, we can go from 105 to -40, and it can be dry as a whistle in the winter, and it can just be like Georgia swamp, thick and humid here in the summer. So our stuff needs to move. And in the worst case scenarios, when you get like some cheap pine doors, you'll see the panels in like a 6-panel door. You'll see them with a 1/4 inch of movement in those panels. You can see where the panel has receded almost a 1/4 inch. So that's an insane amount of movement here. So it happens all the time from shrinkage. Frank Bonacci, thank you for watching. Howard Jorge. Nate Jameson, Jason is the master. I couldn't agree more. Gustavo, thank you for watching, my friend. Daniel Livingston, managing expectations. Yeah, I found that probably a good 30% of what I do as a painter is people management, and 70% is the actual painting, because you can be the best painter in the world, but if you give them something that they did not expect, it doesn't matter how good you think it is. So Efren Medina, oh man, I love Efren's work. If you guys don't follow Efren, yeah, even though I win awards like Craftsman of the Year, this guy right here, we should be handing that off to him. He does amazing work. James Nemechek, what's your take on urethane modified primers going over polyurethane cabinets? I've had pretty good luck. And one of these days I'll go to my shop. I got about 20 cabinet doors that when I did my master's class, I experimented with all sorts of primers. We did water-based, we did oils, we did hybrid primers, and we did shellac primers, synthetic shellac primers, all that stuff. Honestly, I love them. And I wish, sometimes I wish oil primer would disappear. Then I wouldn't have the option to use it. But I still love oil primer. The only downside with oil primer is it stinks. If the stink would go away, it would be just about the perfect primer. I've had good luck with them. The problem is, even if it's half of 1% worse than oil-based primers is still perfect. I've done all sorts of crosshatch testing, scratch testing. I've done them over varnish. I've done it over other paints. I've done it over lacquers. And honestly, I've not had a chance where I could ever scratch oil primer off of these cabinets. And I even did a couple cabinet doors where I just did nothing. I went to a remodel project. I grabbed some cabinets from the job site. I brought it right to my shop, sprayed them with oil primer, and honestly, it stuck great. Now, I would never say that that gets rid of all the prep, but that's an indication that you got belt suspenders. It's super safe product. So honestly, James, right now, if oil primer disappeared, I would go to urethane modified primer or one of the hybrids, which I assume we're talking about the same thing, because there's so many good examples out there. There's even a bunch of low odor oil-based primers, but low odor, let's be realistic. It still smells like oil primer. It just doesn't make your eyeballs, sting from doing it. So Reed Roselle, when I build floating panel cabinet doors, I 2-coat pre-finished panel before assembly. Amen. Reed, you are the one person in the whole universe that gets the opportunity to do that. If I could, if I could back prime siding before it goes on the house, even if it's LP Smart Side or Hardy or Cedar or anything else, that's my way to do it. Because carpenters and cabinet makers don't want to be bothered with that sort of thing, I don't get the chance to, even though it's the best way to do it. And if it was my house, I would certainly do it. But God bless you for doing that. Those cabinets are going to be awesome forever because of that. They're stable. So I love to hear that people still do that. Victoria, thank you for watching. Josh Boutwell, Monty Sheehy, my good friend there from California. Joe Wandra, friend here from New Prague. Tristan Tripp, Dean Cudd, Dave Mack, Corey DuPont, Lyndon Phillips, Tom Mossberg from New Prague here. Oh, Efren, do you mind explaining your apprenticeship training program structure? All right. This is probably something that I'm going to be creating as a master's class for the PDCA, because it turns out there's a lot of people who are sort of interested in this at the last expo. Basically, I'll give you the quick rundown here, and certainly, Efren, let's talk offline, because this is a 2-day discussion usually. It's a little bit unsatisfying when I describe it. Number one, I have completely stopped looking for experienced painters. I have not, with the exception of one, I have hired one painter with experience that's actually worked out in my company. And this was not your standard off the street 11 years. This is actually a PDCA, a Painting and Decorating Contractors of America. Another business owner in Chicago had one of his best guys move into Minnesota, and he actually called me and said, please just talk to this guy and give him a chance. But that's somebody who's been vetted, somebody who's of like mind, somebody who's a PDCA member. I mean, that's an outlier, and I'm thankful for people in the PDCA to do that. So that's been the only time I've hired an experienced painter. Now, there's some mature companies that just need to plug in a whole bunch of experienced painters. I completely understand why. For what I do here, I only need between 10 and 20 painters, and I can easily mine them and create them myself. So my ads, they basically list nothing more than, I love my job more than anyone else on earth. If you're a decent human being, I will take the time to help you love your job too. And I get a whole bunch of very young, enthusiastic people who are looking for a change. And then, Efren, it's kind of funny, but the craft is almost second to culture now. So immediately, what's harder to create in somebody is the culture of your business, and harder to get them on board. Now, when I do my hiring process right, they actually add to the culture. So on day one, they bring more happiness, they bring more cheer, they bring enthusiasm and love of the craft there, and they're helping on day one. Some people have to be dragged along a little farther, but they'll get there. That's personality driven. But honestly, trying to get them involved with the company culture. And we have a production meeting every Monday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., and the whole company shows up. It would be more efficient to just have my leadership team there, but I want to interact a lot with my people. And now that I've stopped being in the field, I feel that that's a good time for them to see the inner workings of the machine, where I'm leading the meetings, my leadership team is giving input, and we go and we have their chance to input too. So right now, honestly, Efren, I basically just try to onboard them into the culture, and immediately they feel sort of beholden to their crew leader to then do a good job. And honestly, our work is so varied. If all we did was interior walls, I would have a strict regimen, but I just appointed my most senior craftsperson as my head trainer, and he has his own platoon now where all the new recruits go to him, and he has his own little boot camp that we work on together, and we chart them over a matrix on what they've learned. But I just had 2 people come on recently in the last month or two, and their jobs have ranged from historic restoration in a church, brand new pine windows in a house, standard wall painting a little bit, enameling cabinets, doing shop work, What else have they done? Stripping wallpaper. So it's one of those things where I would love a flow chart of, okay, today you're going to learn to open a can, lay out a drop cloth, do this and that. But honestly, from day one, I need them to pay for themselves, or I want them to pay for themselves, and possibly more if they can. So from day one, they're being productive citizens in my own little community here. So it's we have a course of action, and we track their progress, and the goal is that at the end of 2 weeks, we can get them to paint a room by themselves. Now, not fast, but good. We need them to be competent. It's way more important to me for them to know what near perfect looks like than what quick looks like, because quick will always come. So I hope that helps, but we have our matrix and we check things off. You know, there's probably 40 different skills that I want them to learn. And when my head trainer believes that they can do that without being prompted or without a lot of help, he checks it off. And with the goal to be these, there's certain milestones in there. And the first milestone in their career, at least during the winter here, is to be able to paint a bedroom or a bathroom by themselves. And that's basically what we're trying to ramp them up to do that. So Efren, I hope that helps. We don't have a manual. We don't have videos. We don't have anything like that. I'm a firm believer in a simple business is a profitable business. So for right now, our work is so varied that I just need to throw them on a job site, and we need to slow down, and we need to just teach them the right way of anything. And I know that my training platoon is a loss leader, that they're not going to be producing what my most senior craftsperson and my integrator and his apprentice is doing, but they will. And the more I slow that platoon down, the quicker they will be into action to be real citizens in our little community that we're building. So I hope that helps out. Mike Pote, Angela Siliberto Militello, thank you so much. Quan Nguyen, how can paint stores improve their services for contractors? What do you look for when choosing a paint store? Interesting, where I am, I'm 45 minutes outside of the metro here. Number one is location. If I was a metro painter, honestly, you look for a store manager you like, or yeah, you go to the one close to you, but you have a lot of options, you know? So for me, number one is location. Number two is service. Number three is are they a real business to work with? Now, there are some great paint stores around here, but they only carry 2 gallons of something at a time. They will never give me the option to deliver, and they sort of slow the works up. So I would take an inferior product if it was quicker for me to get, and it was a business that would actually help my business grow. And I would make sure then that the quality was still there. But I have to take into those three sort of things. Honestly, I've been working with my local Ace Hardware here. They're a Benjamin Moore dealer. And as I've grown, they've grown with me. My father's painting business was based here in town before me. And now I'm here and I'm rapidly growing, and they're all on board. They're awesome business people. They're entrepreneurs. They own 6 stores, 7 stores across the metro. And this spring, I just walked in there and said, hey, listen, my business is growing. Here's what I'm going to need from you, or here's what I would like our relationship to be like in the future. Can you do this for me? And of course, if it's a reasonable ask, they move with you. So honestly, just it's one of those things where in my war room, in my shop, all my crews are color coded. So we'll have at least 5 crews, probably 6 this summer, and each of them is color coded, and each of them have a section of my shop. And basically my big ask was, you would save me a ton of time and a ton of my people going to the paint store if I could email you in the standard order form. It'll list the job name, the color coding of the crew that it needs to go to. And I'm not asking you to deliver all over the metro area. I just want you to take it to my shop and make sure that everything is labeled, neatly stacked by the crew. If we color code for the red crew, I want the red crew paint in the red crew area labeled by job type, you know, whatever else colors. And I also have them do a color verification. So they take a paint chip, dry a dot on it, just so there's no question. So that's what I want. Somebody is, I'm willing to give them a lot of business a year if they're willing to do a few things. And it really, it's probably quicker for them. They get an email order and then they just send a person with a truck maybe once or twice a week to my shop. And that's something that we're going to be working on this summer, try and improve some efficiency. So Mark Johnston, thank you so much. Oh, Jordan Dodge, how do you prefer to bid wallpaper removal? Again, an unsatisfying answer in a series of unsatisfying answers. I have done an insane amount of wallpaper removal where I can look at some wallpaper and with 90% certainty, I could probably tell you down to the quarter hour what it's going to take for us to do this. Now, if what people want to do is time and materials, but that's very unsatisfying to the homeowners because you're assuming it's going to be a complete disaster. So what I do is I bookend the situation. I look at the particular paper in this person's house and I say, okay, I've done probably 300 or 400 removals like this. Now, of the removals I've done, here's the quickest I've ever done. This is best case scenario. The walls were painted behind, they were sized, and somebody installed it correctly. And here's the worst case scenario. So maybe this took 3 hours to strip all the wallpaper in the room. Here's the other one that took us a day and a half where we pulled it down, there's minor drywall damage, we skimmed it, we did that. So with experience, you can tell your people that. So at least they know that, hey, here's this outlier, here's this thing that might happen on a good day, and here's this nuclear option where it's really not going to go past that. And what I promise to do with my wallpaper people is to, they can even be there if they want, but the first time we try to pull a piece of the paper off, I'm just saying I will give you my honest opinion. If this is not what I thought it was, or if it was bare drywall with wallpaper put right over it and we know it's going to be a disaster, I'll pull a corner up, and if that's the case, we'll stop right there. I'll give you a course correction and you can tell me what you want. But Jordan, always make the homeowner make the decision. What is not helpful, what the homeowner wants to hear is that, oh, this is no problem, that'll take an hour. But what's better for them to hear is what's actually realistic. So just be realistic and be honest with them, because you don't know how much it's going to take, and they don't know either. So just say, okay, listen, it's taken me either 2 hours or it's taken me a day and a half, and this is what I charge for that thing. Or here's the option: if I pull it back, it might be easier to just oil prime the whole thing, have a guy skim coat it, and we'll start over. So I hope that's help. I hope it's helpful. I wish I could just say, oh, $3 a square foot, but honestly, it's not useful. So thank you though, Jordan, for the question. Tyler, thank you for watching, my friend. Joe Delafave, my friendly Benjamin Moore fellow there. Jamie Reed, Matt McHugh, thank you for watching. Martinez Pedro. Tyler Hansen, bin or oil? For what? Cabinets, I would assume. And I'm trying to catch up to the feed here, but if it's for cabinets, definitely oil. I've done a ton of tests. I've done standard alcohol-based bin. I've done synthetic bin. I've done Sherwin-Williams has a shellac, and I've done their synthetic shellac. And I'll actually show you guys sometime the cabinet doors I did, but they didn't really pass the scratch test. And every time I go around other painters at expos and things like that, people bring me their horror stories of stuff that still bleeds through bin and shellac-based primers, which shouldn't happen because bin should be the nuclear option. But I have a feeling, and knowing what I know of shellac, because I love shellac as a traditional finish, and not in its pigmented form usually, but in its clear or amber or garnet form, it doesn't really do well with water. So even if you get it to stick, even if you get it to block the stains, it's still like a lacquer, where it's basically a whole string of spaghetti that lays down like this. But when you do that, there's microscopic holes there. So what happens is water gets through it. And then if you've ever seen a side table that has a water ring on it that blushes like that, that's actually moisture that's permeated through that, and it can't escape quick enough, so it actually clouds up underneath. So even if it sticks, even if it blocks stains, I still feel that if it stinks and it's a pain to work with, why not just use oil primer at that point? Paul Rafferty, what about using Turpret fiberacryl filler first and then do a caulk? It's a flexible filler. That's a very specific product. I wish I could give you feedback on that. If you're talking about the cabinet doors, even when people use the flexible sealants, urethane sealants or water-based acrylics and things like that, they still split. So Tom Shepard, thank you. Quan, I recently used emerald urethane from Sherwin, but I'm having problems with hide. Any insight on emerald urethane? I'd like to know if you're priming before it. And because it's an enamel, enamels by their nature just don't hide very well. So be prepared for always having to do colored base coats, primer coats, and the enamel is truly just a beautiful wear layer. So don't think of it as trying to hide or anything like that. Tom Shepard, your interview with Brandon Lewis about your apprenticeship program was excellent. Oh, thank you very much. And it's something that, you know, again, when I go to the PDCA Expo, there's certain things that I think I'm very good at, and there's certain things I know I'm really horrible at. And I had no idea that it turns out I think I'm doing a really good job with my apprentices, and I got a lot of feedback from that, you know, based on one of the things that somebody pointed out that I didn't really realize, I'm too close to it, but in 18 months or 20 months, I went from 0 employees to now 12. And during that whole time, we've won national awards for our craft. So ends up that, I think we're doing a really good job with our apprenticeship program. And I wish it was just a series of magic videos that I showed people, but it's a lot of manual one-on-one time to do that and repetition. So James Nemechek, you're welcome, my friend. Micah. Oh, Micah, thank you for watching, man. Micah is one of, I think he will be one of Jason Paris's think tank brethren there. So it'll be fun to kind of interact with you too. Matea Santos, Ursula Badeau, thank you for watching. Mihai Kristolovine, thank you for watching. Tamara Jackson, Russ Simon, Leah Straighton, Dennis Otto. I'm trying to catch up to the feed here to try to stay current. Danny Airy, thank you for watching, my friend. How soon, Jason Paris, how soon until you can train the guys in a VR or AR room? You do the technology, I'll bring the craft, and we could get something going here, Jason. I've actually been thought experimenting over the last month of virtual estimates because again, I'm time constrained, and as people get more comfortable with Skype and live videos and Periscope and interacting via video like this with all the GoToMeetings and things like that, I'm now wondering if you don't get on board with the millennials where you could just fire this up, they can walk around the room, they can point out general things in there, and for sort of non-difficult or simplified estimates, if you want 3 bedrooms painted, honestly, I'm very tempted with the idea of playing with this virtual estimate thing where I can just estimate it from here, and because I'm 45 minutes from the heart of Minneapolis, an estimate for me is probably, if I have to go down into a condo in Minneapolis, it's probably a 3-hour ordeal for an estimate, and that's not a guaranteed job. And I give all my people a free color consultation, so that means I go back up for theirs. So if I'm going to do 3 bedrooms in a condo in Minneapolis, I would already have 6 hours of my time into that before we even get any work done. So in a way of expanding my business and maybe even providing a better service, I would really like to sort of, obviously, Grandma Levon is not probably going to fire up a live video or a conference call and walk me around her house and I can do a virtual estimate, but all the millennials, they would probably prefer it or at least be open to it. So that's what I've been toying with. Andy Tupi, thank you for watching. Roland Vlasak, Carrie Lane, Danny, thank you so much, man. I love following your progress there online too. You're a good exemplar of our trade there. So Jordan Dodge, absolutely. Lucas DeCruz, thank you so much. Bautarde, my friend. Casey Wilcox, Daniel Himnowitz. I'm using Zinsser Seal Coat Shellac base today. I absolutely love that stuff. But I think the only benefit of a lot of the shellac-based primers, at least when we're going over woodwork, is that it dries quicker. I don't think anybody would say it smells better than an oil primer. In fact, I've had a lot of, I used to use shellacs in all my finishing, even with oil varnishes and stuff, even for production finishes. And that alcohol-based stuff, it goes right through those respirators. So my opinion, and it bears out in my tests in the shop, but I certainly don't, I say that knowing that 90% of our industry uses lacquers, and the other 7% uses bin, an alcohol-based pigmented primer for stuff, and then I'm over on the end still using oil primers and oil enamels and hybrid enamels and stuff. So, Daniel, yes, it is a brittle finish. It's more like a lacquer. And when I've created the master's class with the cabinet stuff too, I wanted to make sure I was giving good information. So I talked to a guy with a PhD in chemistry who actually makes lacquers, and he actually drew me what the molecules look like for oil varnishes, lacquers, and then alcohol-based shellacs and things like that. And it really opened my mind up to a lot of things. Like I feel all this in the field, but I never really knew why. So Ahmed, Moises Oliveira, thank you for watching. Ian Watson. Oh, Jamie Reed, how can I convince my husband to let me paint our kitchen cabinets? I painted our cabinets at our last house and they turned out beautiful. Our new house is nice oak, but I'm not in love with it. He doesn't want them painted because his dad built them. Oh, completely understandable, especially if there's some sentimental value to them. Honestly, that's a pretty big hurdle to get over. If he's seen your work before and doesn't want to do it now, that's going to be tough. That's going to be really tough. So, boy, I wish I could give you some advice. I'm a way better painter than I am a interpersonal manager. So Yeah, I wish I could give you some better advice. Scott Burt, thank you for watching. Oh, yeah, Micah. Thanks, Nick Slavik, joining Jason Paris. Man, I'm so excited to see what you guys do up there. It's just, you guys are an amazing group of people, and it's really inspirational for us to see. So, Moises, about tarde to you, my friend. Patrick Song, Kurt Hines, thank you for watching. Stay out of Minneapolis. I think we're safe because I don't think you're coming down to New Prague here. Philip Klein from Davenport, Iowa. Thank you so much for watching. And I'm going to just hit a few. I think I caught up to the feed here. I'm going to take some time to run through a few bits of information here. I got to wet the throat here quick. Okay. I would be curious too. One thing I've been thought experimenting on is I would like to know how everybody does two-coat wall finishes in new construction. I've been approached by some mid-range builders that really need efficient systems and they need businesses to work with them instead of just sort of, alcoholic rusty vanners chucking a trucks. So I've been trying to I'm not interested really in a two-coat wall system. Beyond the fact that I would like to see what is possible and see if there is a way to provide a homeowner with a non-builder's flat two-coat system, something that will last for them so it doesn't mark up on the first day, but also is economical for the builder. So for anybody who has a system and a product, I would love to hear it. I'm not interested in Sure Scrub, CHB, MHB, that sort of things. I'd be interested to see. I experimented probably 10 years ago with and you guys will have to remind me, CHB, I believe, actually came in an eggshell or a satin. And I experimented with a two-coat system years and years ago. And I actually had some good luck, but all of my clients, they really wanted full primer and two top coats of like an eggshell satin or a low luster or a matte or something. So I've been doing a lot of that because people are willing to pay for the quality. But I would certainly be interested if anybody has an awesome system. And also, if you have a system to increase productivity by spraying at least one of those coats or spraying and back rolling both of them would be great, and how that interplays with the ceiling coatings and things like that. So anybody who has any recommendations there, I would love to hear that. Let's go through my, Nick May, for people who don't know Nick May, he runs a business called Walls by Design in Denver, and he is a very unique painting company. He specializes in interior painting and cabinet refinishing. He runs probably 30 plus people. Amazing business he runs out there. And he's actually he mentioned having possibly 4 events a year. The first one is going to be called Crank. It's going to be at his place of business, and he's inviting people. I think he said for people up to about $750,000 in business, and he said there's other people at different income levels coming, but it's a group of contractors. You go there, you stay for a couple of days, and it's basically what I understand of it is like a business roundtable. And the first one is for those companies up to 750, and I believe he's having some other ones for other income levels. So if anybody's interested, you can get a hold of Nick on Facebook. Also, for the serious paint business entrepreneurs out there, this is kind of a no holds barred group, but it's called the Business Brush Group on Facebook, and it's probably the closest thing to a PDCA event online, where some of the best, most progressive paint business entrepreneurs in the world are in there, and there's only a couple hundred of them. But when I believe you have to go through Nick's firewall. You got to answer some questions. And if you do get through, you will be given the freest, fastest, best information for paint business owners in the world, I think. So when you post a question there, you will get world-class advice right away, but be ready because people call you on your bullshit all the time. So it's a great group. So look those things up. That's wonderful. Like I said, the PDCA is having, we just got done with the National Expo. The next Expo, I believe, will be March of 2019 down in Savannah, Georgia, which I am over the moon about because of the history and the things down there. I can't wait to see it. Also, they're having a residential forum and a craftsmanship forum and a commercial forum this next year that I would really urge you guys to at least look into. Every time I'm around these other paint business entrepreneurs, honestly, it changes my business. So, a couple years, 18, 20 months ago, I lost my 3 craftspeople, and I've basically, we did 51% growth last year. We're on track to do 71%. And depending on how summer goes, we could really get close to bumping into doubling our business this year. And it's not this secret book or video they teach you to do. It's about being around people who are good at their job, and it rubs off on you, and immediately you go back and you're a better human. So that's another thing. Let's see. Oh, I have been tasked to do the Idea Home at the Minneapolis Home and Garden Show, which is a huge honor. That's coming up March 30th through April 1st. And there's another weekend, April 6th through 8th in Minneapolis. This is where they actually build a home in a week. I think it's like 5 days. All the contractors from the Metro, we get together, we build a house in a couple days, and then you can actually walk through it. It's called the Idea Home. You can go there, and I have a whole stack of free tickets. If anybody wants free tickets to that show to go see my work there, I may even be there standing there handing out business cards. You can just let me know, and I'll clip them outside my front door here, and you can come pick them up. But it's going to be an awesome event, and we're going to build a house in like 5 days. I looked at the Gantt chart. Our portion of it is on a Monday starting at 4 p.m., working all night, going to maybe noon the next day. So I'm bringing the entire company, all of our shiny vehicles, all of our equipment, and we're going to paint an entire house in one night. And it's going to be the funnest project we do all year. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. So if you guys get a chance, go to the Minneapolis Home Show. I have tickets for you if you want them for free. Message me. Tell me when you're coming by. I'll clip them outside my door. You can come get them. Let's see what else we got. Oh, Mike Katunas, one of my favorite people, watching too. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, let's see here. Omar Rashid. Oh, Philip Klein. We use Cashmere low luster or duration flat interior, and I do too. I'd be curious to know if you use a PVA primer or a primer on the gypsum before you use that, or if you go straight 2 coats there. Cashmere is one of my favorite paints on earth for interior stuff. The shine is good. It's the smoothest, most buttery finish. The only downside to it is just doesn't cover. And I understand in nature there's no free lunches, so if it goes on buttery smooth, it's probably not going to cover as well, and vice versa. You just have to toy with that. But one of my in my master's class that I presented at the PDC Expo recently on new construction, the finest finish I could get, the quickest in a production setting, was PVA primer from Sherwin-Williams and Cashmere low luster. It presented the most beautiful finish. It looks like these walls were hand skimmed, hand smoothed, everything, and it was production. Because Cashmere goes on so smoothly, we can actually produce probably 15 to 20% faster with that paint than with other interior flats and eggshells. So that was a really good finding there. So all right, let's see what else we got going here. Okay, so Idea Home. Let's see. Oh, if anybody has favorite metallics, interior metallics, I would love to hear that as well. So what I'm looking for is not one of the super artistic finishes. I'm looking for a straight metallic. Sherwin-Williams got rid of theirs. I love theirs. I've been messing with a bunch of PPG products recently. So the ones that I like are just a solid metallic finish. I like to mess with them after to do certain things, but I would be curious if anybody has a readily available. I don't really care about cost. I don't want to have to mail order it from Europe. I would like to be able to find something within 20 to 30 minutes of my house, and with them have enough stock. So the PPG product that I use, ever have been using recently, comes in, I don't know, 25 colors, give or take. Awesome colors, goes on pretty well, smooth, and it does have a lot of mica in it, so it does do the refraction and the reflection and things like that. So it's really cool. So, okay, Philip, down here, the drywallers spray everything out prior to us getting to the home. Oh, so they must spray drywall primer then too, I assume. Okay, well, I think I hit everything I needed to. Love the interaction. We're going to be doing more of these kind of free-for-all shows. It's awesome to have people live, which we will frequently. It's awesome to do paint manufacturer visits. We will. We'll do job sites. Philip, it was a PVA primer. Okay, that's good. Do you sand after the PVA primer? I'd be curious to know. And we're also going to be doing these free-for-alls where I just fire this up and let's talk about anything. And just like Jason did before, you guys can come live with me. And if you want to talk live, or if you want to show me a project you're working on, or if you just want to BS for a little bit, that's what this is for. So everybody, this is wonderful. It's a beautiful day here in Minnesota. It's cold, there's snow, it is what it is, but the sun's out, and that's really all we can ask for. So everybody, take care of yourselves, have a good weekend, and anything you want me to talk about next week, any questions you have, send them my way. And thanks for all the feedback, everybody, too. I've been getting a lot of great messages about how specific things have helped your business and things like that. So have a good weekend, everybody. Micah, you too. I see you chiming in there at the end. It's going to be super awesome to interact with everybody. I'm actually meeting all the guys from Paris at the Hirschfield's home show coming up here. We're going to be discussing a few things. So let's raise the bar in our industry, guys. Let's do better. Let's make sure that all the other painters around you are doing well. Bring everybody up. Don't be so myopic that you would just focus on yourself and see all the other painters as enemies. Let's do this together. The biggest bits of growth I've ever had in my business happened after I interacted with the most painters. And some of the painters are even like the guys at Paris Painting, 30 miles down the road, which you would think we'd be, horrible enemies, but honestly, they've been some of the biggest allies I've had. So thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next week.